whole earth is at rest and is quiet. They break forth into singing. Yea, the fir trees rejoice at thee, and the cedars of Lebanon, saying, Since thou art laid down, no fellow is come up against us. The glory of Lebanon shall come unto thee, the fir tree, the pine tree, and the box together, to beautify the place of my sanctuary. And I will make the place of my feet glorious.
Because the Lord is going to restore everything. You're going to have a total different vibration on the earth, a total different smell. You're not going to be walking down the street and smell shit and piss, you know, and no foul odors or nothing like that, because the lungs of the earth are going to be given back to it, which is all these trees and all of these flowers, and it's going to be a whole total different vibration. You know, you're going to see the aura and how things are going to change and how elevated things are going to be. Our senses are going to be heightened, you know? Everything about us is going to be glorified.
For behold, I create new heavens and a new earth, and the former shall not be remembered, nor come into mind. But be ye glad and rejoice forever in that which I create. For behold, I create Jerusalem a rejoicing, and her people a joy. And I will rejoice in Jerusalem, and joy in my people. And the voice of weeping shall be no more heard in her, nor the voice of crying. There shall be no more thence an infant of days, nor an old man that hath not filled his days. For the child shall die 100 years old. But the sinner, being 100 years old, shall be accursed. And they shall build houses and inhabit them, and they shall plant vineyards and eat the fruit of them. They shall not build, and another inhabit. They shall not plant, and another eat. Whereas the days of a tree are the days of my people, and mine elect shall long enjoy the work of their hands. They shall not labor in vain, nor bring forth for trouble, for they are the seed of the blessed of the Lord, and their offspring with them. And it shall come to pass that before they call, I will answer, and while they are yet speaking, I will hear. The wolf and the lamb shall feed together, and the lion shall eat straw like the bullock, and dust shall be the serpent's meat. They shall not hurt nor destroy in all my holy mountain, saith the Lord.
The Lord said that on the Heavenly Father's right hand there are pleasures evermore. And it says that I have not seen, neither ear heard the things which the Lord hath prepared for them that wait for him. You know, there's a whole another world of greatness that awaits us when the kingdom of heaven is established. It's not seen in this society. In this society, we only see carnal things that reason offers in this society. But when the kingdom is established, the Lord is going to open us up to a whole nother world, you know, of pleasure, of knowledge, of wisdom, understanding, you know, can't even be put into words, you know, because our imagination only goes but so far.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakakadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples to his younger brothers, and peace and blessing, salutation. Hopefully, they got there pushing his word in truth and in sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai. Pushing to get up out of here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners whom have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Al Shai. All right. And what we want to get into this morning, dealing with the morning news and prophecy, you know, dealing with all right, Esau, Edom, you know, he's spreading himself too thin, you know, and he did it, you know, in the Romans, you know, even as, you know, you study, you know, these devils, you know, different empires, well, they will always spread themselves too thin. because one thing about pride, it gives you a false sense of ability. When you become prideful, because of, previous, all right, success and achievements, okay, it gives you a false, all right, assessment of your ability, okay, to where you think you're invincible, you can pull off any task, okay. And this is what we're seeing this devil, he's at within this kingdom. He's just trying any and everything, man. Okay, and you really, as we follow this, man, the Lord put the spirit on us to be watchmen, and you see everything that this devil is trying to pull off. All right, you can tell that you're looking at a man, all right, that has a false sense of his ability. Okay, he's trying to, uh, AI infrastructure. Okay, he's trying to, go to war with this nation and that nation. He's trying to fund this war. He's trying to buy this election. He's trying to, all right, dismantle the American government and make way for a new, all right, style of government. Okay. He wants to put the C hip in everyone. Okay. He's just all over the place, man. Government shut down. Okay. And this man, he really has a false assessment of his ability. And that's why it's looking so tacky. Okay. When someone is doing something that they're not capable of doing, it's extremely tacky. All right. And this is what we're seeing with the devil's, last phase of empire. Okay. Him spreading himself too thin. Now, let's go here to the book of Psalms. All right. Chapter, go to chapter 1. Okay. This Psalm 140:1. It said, "Deliver me, O Lord, from the evil man. Preserve me from the violent man, which imagine mischiefs in their heart. Continually are they gathered together for war." All right. And this man always has some type of war going on. A war on terrorism, war on drugs. Now it's a war within with the civilians, a war on poverty. And he is the creator of all these things, man. This man, he's the source behind all the wickedness that he proclaims that he's fighting against. Okay, there's no bigger terrorist than Esau Edom. There's no bigger drug dealer than Esau Edom. Okay, Esau Edom is the reason for poverty. Okay, well, he presents himself as a hero as he's going to war with these things on behalf, okay, of peace on earth. Okay, so you see now, all right, the devil, he's gearing up, to go to war, with Venezuela. There's talks of the war, another war with Iran. Okay, but then you still have Russia, and NATO. Okay, they're bumping shoulders over there. Okay, in Eastern Europe. Okay, and then you have constant rumors of China and you know all these different things that this devil has going on at one time. All right, and he just spread himself too thin. Okay, but this is one of the symptoms of the fall. This lets us know that he's in his last phase of a fall. Okay. Now, let's go here because I got a few videos. Okay, that I want to get into. Well, mainly two. Mainly two. So let's go here to this one. All right, with these devils preparing for Venezuela with. And I want to want y'all to listen how Trump is talking, man. Okay. You pay attention to the devil, all right, and how he's talking. Okay, and it shows you the spirit, that he's in. All right, and the same spirit that the devils have, the same thing that these devils have been on, throughout the earth, where they finna bring that home. Okay, the treatment of these heathens and what they call third world countries and these different nations that they just been invading and bombing and, you know, slandering, okay, poverty, okay. America finna go through third world, okay, crisis, man. Okay, America gonna be worse than the third world because it's gonna be way more violent. Okay, so let's play this.
In a major escalation of the war that Trump seems to be starting against Venezuela, Hegseth and the Pentagon have ordered the deployment of the United States' most advanced and newest aircraft carrier, the USS Gerald Ford, to the Caribbean off the coast of Venezuela. This ship has 5,000 Navy seamen, and this is in addition to the 10,000 troops already deployed in the region. This comes as Trump was just recently asked whether or not he plans to go to Congress in order to seek the authorization to go to war. As he says, he is going to war against drug cartels, but solely based on the executive order he issued earlier in the year. He has had no approval from Congress, despite the fact that our Constitution requires Congress to declare war. This is what he said in response.
Our sea drugs, as they call them, they use the term sea drugs. The drugs coming in by sea are like 5% of what they were a year ago, less than 5%. So now they're coming in by land. And even the land is concerned because I told them that's going to be next. The land is going to be next. And we may go to the Senate, we may go to the, Congress and tell them about it. But I can't imagine they'd have any problem with it. I think, in fact, while we're here, I think it's a good idea, Pete. You go to Congress, you tell them about it. What are they going to do? Say, gee, we don't want to stop drugs pouring in. I don't see any Lawson going. No reason not to. They'll always complain, oh, we should have gone. So we're going to definitely, I'd like to just tell you, let's go. We go.
And Mr.
We're going to
President,
tell them what we're going to do. And I think they're going to probably like it, except for the radical left lunatics.
and Mr. President, if you are declaring
So basically, what he's saying, because you're supposed to go to Congress, and Congress is supposed to vote on whether you go to war or not. Okay, because Congress supplies the funding, okay, for war, because they approve. Okay, the president can bring, all right, a petition to Congress and say, look, this country is a threat. We got this intel, we got that intel, and we need to declare war. Okay, and the Congress will vote on it, and they will determine whether, all right, that war can be declared on this nation. And then they would also determine the funding allocated to that war. Okay, well, what Trump is saying, we'll let them know about it. We ain't asking them nothing. Okay, we'll let them know what we're doing. We'll tell them. Okay, so this is completely unconstitutional. Okay, what Trump is doing, but he made an executive order that created a loophole for him to wage war on what he deems as cartel. Okay, which the cartel is controlled by the CIA. Okay, and this is the same thing, that Julius Caesar did, when he went to war. All right, with the Gauls. Okay, and he was supposed to come back, because he was approved to go to war for a year and a half. All right, with Julius Caesar, he stayed out there conquering for 8 years. So that's why when he came back, he was looked at as an enemy of the state. Okay, but what did you have? You had a civil war between him and Pompey. Okay, you see, because half the state looked at him as a hero, and the other half of Rome looked at him as a traitor. Okay, and a dictator and doing too much. Okay, so you see how this government, all right, Esau repeats the same mistakes over and over and over again, man. All right, but basically Trump is telling the Congress, like, look, we're gonna go to war. We'll tell them niggas about it when we get back.
war against these cartels and Congress is likely to approve of that process, why not just ask for a declaration of war?
Well, I don't think we're going to necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay, we're going to
Not gonna ask for war. We just gonna kill people. Okay, a madman sparing none. You see, we're not gonna ask for a declaration of war. We're just gonna kill people. Listen to how this man is talking, and this is your president. All right, that's just moving like a complete dictator in America. But what do you think he finna do back home? Okay, let's go there.
necessarily ask for a declaration of war. I think we're just going to kill people that are bringing drugs into our country. Okay, we're going to kill them. You know, they're going to be like dead.
We will just kill them. Seems to be Trump's policy, and he apparently thinks he needs zero oversight or authority to do so. Hegseth also just announced the 10th strike against a boat in the Caribbean, again claiming each one had to do with drugs and the drug cartel. Despite in the past, before Trump had done this executive order, the traditional method of catching and capturing drug cartel members of a boat would be the U.S. Coast Guard would pull over a boat and arrest anybody with drugs. This, of course, has now turned into missions, military missions under the newly named Department of War. This naval power of the United States going to the Caribbean, the aircraft carrier, in addition to what is already in there, is now the largest Navy deployment in the world. And according to the head of the former Special Command, it is unprecedented. We have never had this level of military in the Caribbean. And this is being done, according to Trump, Hegseth, and Marco Rubio, solely because of drugs that are coming from Venezuela to the United States. Never mind whether or not they're coming from other countries to the United States. Never mind the fact that the fentanyl they keep on talking about isn't evidently manufactured in Venezuela. But supposedly this is giving them the ability to strike boats. As we know, there were 2 survivors on a strike last week. And despite going through regular legal channels, they could have either detained them as combatants of war and put them at Guantanamo Bay, which would have allowed them to contest it with habeas corpus, or put them through the regular criminal justice system. They instead freed them, allowed them to go back to their own countries. Neither of them were actually even Venezuelan. But here you have, in the United States, we have criminal laws regarding drugs, of course, selling drugs, buying drugs, drug possession, distribution. Our justice system doesn't say you either go free or killed, but that is what is happening in the Caribbean. And now with the deployment of the aircraft carrier, majorly escalating the tensions and frankly, what Trump is planning to do with Venezuela. He also said that now they plan on going to the land since the water worked so well. Let's remind everybody here, Venezuela has the largest oil reserves in.
So, you know, these devils got that going on, all right, in in Venezuela. You know, and all this, you know, requires resources, you know, mobilizing troops, you know, mobilizing forces, okay? And he just spread all out the earth. And the scriptures say, you know, when you go here, this is Psalms 10:3 said, for the wicked boasteth in his heart's desire. Okay. Always on TV telling you, you know, what he's going to do next and what they got going on. And we're going to do this, and, you know, whether it's the AI, whether it's the, you know, CBDC or the war with this country, he's always boasting, you know, in his heart's desire. And blessed the covetous, okay, which are those greedy elite families, you know, because they are the only people that's blessed in this system. Okay, all the wealth trickles to them. Okay, resources. Okay, and it says, whom the Lord abhorreth. Man, the Lord not dealing with these devils. You know, these devils was propped up, all right, for a moment in time. all right, for the sake of prophecy and the sake of our punishment. But the Lord ain't dealing with no goddamn Edomite, okay, when it comes to staying in power. All right, this devil is done. You know, the Lord utilized him on the left hand side, all right, to complete particular task. And his last task is Jacob's trouble, all right, and to get the earth and to push the earth into a third world war. Okay. He got 3 things to do left before he's disposed of. And that's Jacob's trouble, the MOTB, and his third world war. Okay, and then his ass gonna be disposed of, man. Okay, it said the wicked through the pride of his countenance will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not in all his thoughts. His ways are grievous. Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. As for his enemies, he puffeth at them. You know, so that's just him being proud. You know, just telling a supposedly sovereign country that look, you know, we striking boats. Okay, it will. All right. Anything that we want, we just gonna strike, and we might just go to the land next. That's him puffing up his enemy, like, you know, might go to the land since the water works so good. You know, we just go to the land. Okay, he pulling, you know, aircraft carriers up in the coast of Venezuela. That's him puffing at his enemies, man. You know, he just be selling those aircraft carriers through the South China Sea. That's him puffing, man, at his enemies, like, shit. Who gonna do something? You know, and that's the spirit that the devil is in. Okay, it says, he has said in his heart, I shall not be moved, for I shall never be in adversity. Okay, and this, you know, and Trump is an embodiment of that. The way Trump talks, as if their power and authority will never be opposed. You know, it's always about what they're gonna do, always about what they got going next. Okay, well, see, they don't factor in, okay, that the Lord, all right, has a plan for them. Okay, this is Habakkuk 1:6. So for lo, I raise up the Chaldeans, that bitter and hasty nation. Okay, which Habakkuk was around during the time of, you know, the Babylonians getting ready to take Jake down. Okay, but now we know in this time it's speaking of America. Okay, it says that bitter and hasty nation which shall march through the breadth of the land to possess dwelling places that are not theirs. Okay, and this is what we see on, because America's Babylon the Great. So the things that the Neo-Babylonian Empire did, you know, and even the ancient Babylonian Empire under Nimrod, well, America would do greater. Okay, it says they are terrible and dreadful. Their judgment and dignity shall proceed of themselves, and that's what we just see. They justify themselves. You know, they like, look, man, we're stopping, you know, drug trafficking. You know, we're fighting terrorism. Okay, you got you know, traitors of you know, the republic within. We gotta, you see, so we're justified, man. You see, crime is so terrible. We need, you know, we're justified, man, in everything that we do. You see, so going on, just Trump said we'll tell Congress about it. You know, we get back. All right. Habakkuk 1:8. It said their horses are swifter than the leopards, and more fierce than the evening wolves, and their horsemen shall spread themselves. All right, and their horsemen shall come from far, and they shall fly as the eagle that hasted to eat. Man. Okay, this speaking this man military, man, mainly his air force. Okay, and this is how the devil has been getting down in the earth, man. Okay, just military dominance. Okay, but we come into a time where he's finna get checkmate first by these heathens, and then the ultimate checkmate gonna be Yahweh Shai. It says they shall come all for violence. Their faces shall sup up the east wind. They shall gather captivity as the sand. All right, because the earth is the planet Earth is pretty much the planet Earth is enslaved to these global corporations. You know, anywhere where you can work, all right, you're working under the umbrella of these global corporations, man. You know, and they've been able to colonize the earth with the sword. all right, and then enslave people with what? These corporations. Okay. So his mind, look, Eli, when the scriptures say the earth is given into his hand, the earth is given into this man's hand. Okay. And the people in it too. You see? So when you go keep reading on and then go to another video, it says, and they shall scoff at kings, and the princes shall be a scorn unto them. They shall deride every stronghold, for they shall heap dust, which is confusion, and take it. Then shall his mind change, and he shall pass over and offend, imputing this his power, all right, unto his God. Okay. So now what we're seeing with this devil, like he said, he's scoffing at all these world leaders. Okay. That's not, with him. Okay. And he has heaped up confusion, you see, to justify, okay, his war. You see, and over the years he's been able to just take down, strongholds of these ancient, people, all these people, because you look at the earth and how westernized the earth is. Esau has made people leave their traditional ways and conform unto him. Okay. And he presented, this form of confusion as life. Okay. So now he's in the spirit now to where he just boasting. That's why I say, I think the brother got it. Just tie right into it. I think the brother got it. Yep, this the brother GMS Yashima. All right, it says, yeah, also because he transgressed by wine, he's a proud man, neither keepeth at home. So now we're seeing Esau drunk off his power and dominance, man. To where he's showing his ass now. Okay, he like, look, we finna go to war with them. We finna go to war with these people. We finna, we finna go to war at home. This is a man that was just drunk off his power. He's a proud man because, he's been able to influence the earth, to dominate the earth, man. Heap up the resources to himself, put people, enslave people to his, his corporations through debt slaves. Okay. And also it says he shall impute his power to his guys, which is Satan. That's why you see Satanism more at the forefront of this society. He's just coming out with it now. And that's why Trump represents the coming out of Edomite male dominance, man. They're tired of being politically correct and trying to tiptoe and hide like they don't run the earth. No, we run it. All right. And that's why their seed hill is going to be Esau in the spirit of, look, you're going to get down and lay down. We run this shit. Okay. That's the spirit of Esau coming in. All right. Verse, it said, who enlarges his desire is hell, which is like in the grave. Okay, because I say the grave will never be satisfied. You can always put more bodies into the grave. It's going to break it down. Okay, and that's how this devil is with his greed when it comes to power, wealth. Okay, notoriety, like he can never be satisfied. Okay, that's why he's always pushing. All right, for more control, more war, more power, more wealth. Okay, it says, who enlarges his desire is hell, and his death, and cannot be satisfied, but gather unto him all nations, and heaping unto him all people. Okay, so the devil's in the position, where he's in the peak of his power. Okay, and we're getting ready to see the Lord break this man down. Okay, so let's go here. Let's get this video and get this precept. So now let's go to Iran, the other side of the earth. It's the brother Nah, GMS all in 144. All right, and Shalom. The Job 9:24 said the earth is given into the hand of the wicked. He covered the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he? Okay, so this man, the Lord has given this man the earth. All right, and what he's done with the planet Earth is made the earth completely chaotic, okay, and violent. You see, and rebellious against Yahweh Bashim Al Shai. All right. So now let's go here with news. All right, with some news dealing with Iran. You know,
I think it'd be very foolish for Israel to start another war. But that leads to the question, why would you start another war? If you think about it, if Iran is dealing Israel more than a bloody nose in a potential second war, and Israel feels threatened in a meaningful way, you can imagine how that could lead to a situation where Israel justifies the use of nuclear weapons on Iran.
One here. So this was your live stream you just did. Iran in full alert. Iran in full war alert amid Israeli threats. So, well, what can you tell us about Iran being on full war alert?
Well, there was a meeting, a summit that was supposed to take place next week in Tehran, hosting a bunch of media, social media influencers and independent journalists. Pepe Escobar was another person who was supposed to attend this event, and they canceled the event. The Iranians did. And the reason why was war preparation and war readiness. That's what was given to the attendees. So apparently all of the IRGC commanders are in bunkers right now. This is from sources in Iran. They're all preparing for this. I was invited to a meeting with President Pezeshkian, the Iranian president, in New York City at the United Nations a few weeks ago. I obviously wasn't there. I'm in Moscow. I was in Africa during that meeting. But apparently at the meeting, he said another war is coming. Israel's going to launch another war. And he feels as though they're going to target him, in addition to many civilians and military and political officials. So I think this is coming. There was also a major intelligence report that was just released from Ismail Khatib, who's the intelligence minister in Iran. And he just exposed that 50 countries participated in espionage activities against Iran during the 12-day war, including Turkey, who's their neighbor, and many Arab countries who are supposed to support Palestine and those who defend Palestine. So things are heating up, and it's not looking good.
What do you make?
so yeah, man, you see, Iran, was getting in war mode, because last time, they was caught off guard by those small hats, and even, they was caught off guard, they retaliated, in a major way to where America, had to intervene, and kind of like, look, y'all chill out, because Iran, was pummeling those small hats. Okay. Like I saying last time, those small hats caught Iran off guard. They were supposed to have peace talks and negotiation with America, so they were like, okay, they let the guard down, but this time, they booted. Okay, and ever since June until now, all right, Russia and China have been pouring in military hardware into Iran. Okay, so just like I say, this is a much anticipated, second round. Why niggas are looking forward to, all right, Jake Paul and goddamn Tank, all right, Javante Davis. This is what we should be looking forward to. Okay, this headliner. All right. So, it's just been a lot of talks, a lot of speculation and, a lot of if or when. Okay. And it's going to be interesting when, these things unfold. Okay. So this devil, he has this going on, which this conflict is going to draw in those other superpowers. Now whether they just go a second round and, and then fall back again. Okay. But eventually, all right, it's just going to continue to escalate and draw these other superpowers in, okay, which is going to formulate this third world war. Okay, so while all these other prophecies are building up, okay, in their own right, the AI infrastructure, which is going to be linked to the Sea Hip, and then you have the civil unrest, which it wouldn't take much. Okay, so what we're seeing is the devil, he just got a lot going on. Okay, let's play
Think
this.
of that. What do you make of that? Turkey and the other Gulf states turning on Iran in that way.
Well, they're all cowards. I mean, you know as well as I do that Turkey provides lion's share of Israeli oil. It's Azerbaijani oil that travels through Turkish pipelines each and every year.
And then eventually Turkey is going to turn on the West, and that's going to be a strategic chess move by the Most High. All right, when Turkey turns on the West, because Turkey is a major part of their military strategy in their region of the earth. Okay, major part of their military strategy. A lot of those airstrikes, that America does. They come back to those air bases in Turkey. Okay, so it's going to be a major strategic blow. Okay, when Turkey flips and sides with Iran and Russia, okay, which we know to be so. Okay, let's play this.
Erdogan always comes out and talks about how he stands with Palestine, but if you stand with Palestine, why are you going to supply the Zionist entity with, I think it's like 40% of their annual oil consumption? Doesn't make any sense. And for the Gulf countries, these Arab states, Arab states excluding Yemen, they're all ready for normalization. I think they are chomping at the bit for normalization. And if it wasn't for the ultra deranged policies of Smotrich and Gavir, I think we might actually have seen it by now. But it's not surprising to me at all.
Wix. One platform, any website, unlimited creation.
So I a lot of people said that it wasn't over. The 12-day war wasn't the end of it, that they had just kind of run out of munitions, in fact. And in fact, Ukraine thought that the United States was sending all its munitions to Israel. Israel thought we were sending all our munitions to Ukraine, and they were angry at it. But the United States just kind of ran out of munitions to supply them. And so the talk was that Israel was just waiting to rebuild and restock their munitions, and then they're going to attack Iran again. Do you think that was the plan? Is that what you think?
Yeah, I think you got it right. I think also, they have new THAAD systems in Israel now. The U.S. dropped those there.
What are THAAD systems?
THAAD systems, THAAD interceptor missiles. Israel has a series of layers of air defense systems. This is one part of it. But they're very costly. The U.S. doesn't have a lot of them. I think we've dumped almost our whole supply into Israel now over the past 12 months. But Israel, it doesn't matter if they have these. It doesn't matter if they have their Iron Dome. It doesn't matter what other layers they have. Iran humiliated Israel, and they only, according to the IRGC, used about 25% of the technologies that they possess in their missile arsenal. So Iran did a number on them, obviously. I think it would be very foolish for Israel to start another war. But that leads to the question, why would you start another war? If you think about it, if Iran is dealing Israel more than a bloody nose in a potential second war, and Israel feels threatened in a meaningful way, you can imagine how that could lead to a situation where Israel justifies the use of nuclear weapons on Iran, which would be their dream scenario, to be able to justify the use of nuclear bombs on Tehran and other major Iranian cities. I think that's a real possibility. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of what could happen here.
That Israel would be the first one to use a nuke.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's unclear whether Iran has a nuke. I think they should have a nuke as a means of deterrent, not to use one.
Oh, nah, they using them. you know, and y'all gonna find out, you know, what they got, you know. You will find out, all right, because and you know, just like these, you know, um analysts, they say, well, why would Israel go to war? What is prophecy? Okay, the least of the flock gotta draw them out. So it's just on their spirit, like this nigga BB, you know, this nigga only reason for being born was, you know, to go to war and wreak havoc, okay, in their region of the earth. Okay, so that nigga is in his lot. Benjamin Netanyahu, that nigga in his lot, Trump in his lot, okay, everybody in their lot to fulfill prophecy, man, you know, and to get this thing going. All right, now I want to go here real quick, because I asked about Rome, all right, spreading itself too thin. So let's go here real quick to so I asked, did the Roman Empire spread itself too thin militarily? All right, wise. During this collapse, could pride and false sense of ability play a factor? It says yes, both overextension and pride played major roles, okay, in Rome in the Roman Empire's decline, particularly in its military collapse. Let's unpack that a bit. By the late empire, especially the third and fifth centuries, Rome's borders stretched from um, Britain to Mesopotamia and from the Rhine, all right, to the Sahara. This created huge logistical and strategic problems. Constant threats from Germanic tribes in the north, Persians in the east, and eternal rebellions, all right, strained the legions. Maintaining vast armies required massive taxation and administrative costs. Economic decline made this unsustainable. Dilution of military quality, a recruitment falter. Rome relied more on foreign mercenaries, all right, and feudality, for Edirati, if I'm saying it right, but pretty much on like proxies, you know, what will proxies be today, how they use these proxy troops today. Okay, it says weakening cohesion and loyalty. It says culturally and politically, Roman pride often blinded leaders to reality. Culturally and politically, Romans' pride often blinded leaders, okay, to reality, man. Okay, you see, so pride played a factor in the fall of ancient Rome. You know, just like it's going to play a fall, okay, in Rome revive. Okay, as the brother put, all right, this is the brother Anaji MS All In 144, Proverbs 16 and 18. Pride goeth for destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Okay, and haughty spirit before a fall. You see, so pride goeth before destruction, and this devil is at the peak of his pride. He is the most proud. The scripture called him, "O thou most proud." All right, that's why he gonna get the "O thou most destruction." Okay, so yeah, let's go back to the chat. It says, arrogance of past success. Centuries of dominance led many Romans to assume, all right, the empire was eternal. You see that? Like we went over last night. All right. Arrogance of past success, centuries of dominance led Romans to assume the empire was eternal. All right. They underestimated external threats like the Goths or Huns, okay, and overestimated the capacity to absorb loss, resistance, all right, to reform. All right. Emperors and elites often clung to outdated military structures and tactics, even as enemies adapted. And see, that's what we're finna see in this war. You see, the way that America is used to winning wars is just pulling up and deploying 500,000 troops here, and just, you know, those aircraft carriers being able to just park on the coast, and they able to just go on missions and come back to the boat, reload, get gas. Okay, you see, either hot pocket, go back, you know, bomb the shit. You see that shit there over with. Okay, I think in Iraq, they deploy with like 500,000. They're not gonna be able to deploy those numbers and those people get off those boats unscathed. They're not gonna be able to fly those or go on those missions with those aircrafts, okay, and just come back to the aircraft carrier, okay? Because you got two things, and both can happen, one or the other or both, okay? Because they pull over these aircraft carriers now, okay? They, all right, those aircrafts, all right, they go on those missions. There's a good chance they not coming back, all right? And if they do make it back, they might not have a boat to come back to, a boat to land on, an aircraft carrier to land on. Okay, that's why when you had Trump, okay, put those B-2 bombers, he put them in, all right, a port in India because he wanted to put them out of Iran range, okay, of Iran's missiles. So he had to park them. He had to park those aircraft carriers. He had to dock those aircraft carriers, so many miles away, so they wouldn't be in range of Iran's missiles. Okay, and you best believe Russia done filled in the blank. Whatever Iran was missing in June, you best believe Russia and China done filled in the blanks. All right, and it ain't gonna be nowhere them aircraft carriers can park when it really go down. And see, what we have to understand, there's a lot of restraint still being held by these militaries. Okay, but when they go all in, all right, the world is going to see how the earth has adapted to this American war machine. Okay, so let's go. Let's keep reading. All right, it says emperors and elites often clung to outdated military structures and tactics, even as enemies adapted. For example, Rome's heavy infantry focus struggled against faster moving cavalry based foes. Competing generals prioritized personal power over defense, splitting resources and attention. Pride and ambition, all right, at the top hasten collapse, man. And you best believe these devils, they're so proud and arrogant and they want to be notarized. They got all this ambition that it works against them. Okay, in summary, yes, Rome spread itself too thin and and succumbed to pride. It's a classic case of empire believing it was too great to fail. Even the structural weakness, all right, eroded it from within. Okay, now let's go here. It's this precept in the book of Proverbs 11. I want to say, okay. Let's get this. It's the brother faithful. All right, 144. Okay. All right, hopeful elect. It's Obadiah 1 and 3. It said, the pride of thy heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Okay, and this is how the devil thinks, this is how he moves, man. Who shall bring me down to the ground? Okay, and that's that pride. And the Lord wants this nigga pride because pride gives you a false sense of ability. Okay, and Esau finna carry his ass out there. Okay, thinking that he's still finna go dominate like times before. Okay, and his ass finna get embarrassed out there, man. Okay, and then Yahweh Shah just gonna come mop the floor with this nigga, man. Okay, and these heathens. All right, Obadiah 1 and 4. It says, though thou exalt thyself as an eagle, and thou shalt set thy nest among the stars, thence will I bring thee down, said the Lord Yahweh by Shemal Shai. Because this devil, he's been able to, he's been able to weaponize the atmosphere because the nest, also goes into a place of dwelling. He got space stations up there. Okay, but then also a place to stage weapons. Okay. So even though this devil, has put weapons in the atmosphere, all right, the Lord, Yahweh Shai, is finna be sent back to bring all that shit down. Okay? Everything is finna come down, man. Okay. So let's I got this one here. I want to get ready to close it out. But this is the book of Proverbs, chapter 11. He was in the NLT. Okay. Because the Lord created this nigga in a certain way that his pride and ambition would always destroy him. You see, the Lord made Esau, okay, to destroy himself. Okay. The way that he's made. Let me see if I can find it. Yep, this is Proverbs 11:6. It said the godliness of good people rescues them. See, and the Lord put a spirit within Israel. All right, and this time the elect, to where we will return back to godliness, and that will provoke the Lord to rescue us. Okay. But then on the flip side, the ambition of the treacherous people traps them. So every time Esau gets an empire, okay, he destroys it. Okay, the Greeks, the Romans, the French, the Spanish, the British. Okay, every time this man gets an empire, his ambition and treacherous, okay, it puts him in the trap every time. Okay, he can't help himself for becoming too proud, to becoming too ambitious and being treacherous and cutthroat amongst everybody and even amongst themselves, man. Okay, this nigga crash out every time. There's no bigger crash out than Esau. Okay, when he sold the birthright, he crashed. You see, so we finna see this nigga crash out again, man. All right, and this is the last crash out, man. This is gonna be the end of this guy. Okay, captivity, and then this it for him. But every time, man, I got a live stream going into that tonight. How these different Edomite empires, they go out the same way. So Lord will, y'all tune in tonight on the Kingdom Minded and the GMS Historical Breakdown channel. But yeah, man, we finna see the biggest crash out, man. All right, so Lord will, you brothers. All right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Kakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great example to us younger brothers. And peace and blessing, salutation to the hopeful Shalom.